My name is Linda Walker, and I'm 62 years old. I never thought I'd spend this stage of my life fighting for something that always should have been mine. I thought getting older meant slowing down, gardening in peace, and maybe spoiling a few grandkids one day. But if life has taught me anything, it's that the people who swear they'd take a bullet for you are sometimes the ones aiming the gun. And trust me, the folks I'm talking about, they share my blood. It all started the morning after my mama's funeral. I was still wearing black, my eyes were swollen from crying all night, and the coffee tasted like mud because I hadn't slept enough to make it right. Mama's house sat quiet as a grave, the air heavy with everything she left behind. I was sipping my coffee at her old kitchen table when my brother, Tony, showed up without knocking, like the house already belonged to him. He barged in with this smug look, like he'd just closed some big real estate deal. And he tossed this thick envelope right in front of me. "Sign these, Linda," he said, voice all serious like he was suddenly the man of the damn family. "It's just estate paperwork." Now, I ain't stupid. I scanned the first page and instantly felt my stomach twist. "Oh hell no," I muttered. "This says the property goes entirely to you." Tony smirked and sat down like it was no big deal. "You never moved out. You lived here rent-free for years. I think that should count for something." My jaw nearly hit the floor. Count for what? I was Mama's caretaker. I wiped her tears and held her hand through every damn doctor appointment while you were too busy partying and investing in your dumb ideas. Tony rolled his eyes. "Whatever. Mom trusted me to take care of the finances." I laughed, but it wasn't a funny laugh. Mom trusted me to take care of her. And I did. You showed up twice a year with your fake promises and cheap gas station flowers. His face twisted into something darker. "Look, you sign those papers, and I'll give you a nice check. More than you'd ever make on your own." "A nice check." I shot back. "Tony, this house is worth $300,000. Mama left it to both of us. 50-50. You know damn well what she wanted." His fist slammed the table, making my coffee spill. "Sign the papers, Linda." "I'm not asking again." That moment, that was when the first crack formed. The first moment I realized I wasn't dealing with a brother. I was dealing with a man who thought he could bully me into giving up my entire life. I pushed the papers back toward him. "Get out." For a second, he just stared at me. Then he chuckled. "You're gonna regret this, sis." "Try me," I told him. He left, slamming the door so hard the windows shook. And right then, I knew this wasn't over. My gut told me Tony wasn't done. The kind of hate he walked in with? That doesn't just disappear. 3 hours later, the sheriff showed up. Big guy named Carl, known him since high school. He took off his hat when I opened the door. "Linda, I'm real sorry to say this, but your brother filed a claim that you attacked him this morning." I stared at Carl like he'd grown horns. "Attacked him? With what? My coffee cup?" "It's a claim," Carl said softly. "But he also mentioned concerns about your mental state. He says, grieving has made you unstable and he's worried you might hurt yourself or others." I wanted to slam the door. Instead, I just whispered, "He's trying to steal the house." Carl sighed. "Look, courts take these claims seriously. He might try to push for guardianship." Guardianship. The word hit me like a damn punch to the chest. That meant Tony could legally take control of the house, the money, even my medical decisions. I'd seen it happen to others in town. Older folks stripped of everything because someone convinced the court they were losing their mind. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw something. Instead, I sat right down on Mama's porch steps and cried like I hadn't cried since I was a kid. Carl put a hand on my shoulder. "You need a lawyer. Don't wait." As he walked back to his car, I wiped my eyes. An idea struck me. I rushed inside to Mama's bedroom closet, the one spot she always kept locked. Luckily, I knew her hiding place for the spare key, inside an old coffee tin labeled beans. Inside the closet, on the top shelf, were 2 shoeboxes. One with my name written in thick marker. One with Tony's. My hands were shaking when I opened mine. Inside were stacks of photographs, letters Mama wrote me, and a will. A legal will, dated just 6 months earlier. Her exact words: "The house and all possessions be split equally between my children Linda Walker and Anthony Walker." I clutched that will like a lifeline. "Try me now, Tony," I whispered. "But you know what they say. When you think you've got the upper hand, life likes to smack the smile off your face." Because then I noticed something odd. My box was full. Tony's box. Empty. Except for one single sheet of paper. A withdrawal receipt. $50,000. From Mama's account. 2 days before she passed. That money wasn't there when she died. I felt my pulse pounding in my ears. Oh my God. Did Tony steal from Mama before she died? And then I heard the front door unlock. I froze. I hadn't unlocked that door. My heart dropped like a rock. Footsteps echoed through the living room. Linda, Tony's voice sing-songed. We need to talk. No way in hell he was supposed to be here. I crept to the doorway just enough to see him. And he wasn't alone. A woman stood behind him. Blonde hair, expensive jacket, cold expression. Tony noticed me standing there. There you are. Who the hell is she? I snapped. Tony grinned. This is Melissa, my lawyer. Melissa didn't blink. We're here to collect my client's property. You have until the end of the week to move out. I walked toward them slowly, gripping Mama's will so tight the paper nearly tore. This house isn't your client's property, I said through my teeth. My name is on the damn deed. Tony stepped closer, and his voice dropped low. Linda, you don't want to start a war with me. I stared him dead in the eye. You already did. That smile of his twisted into something evil. He leaned in close and whispered. You think Mama loved you more, don't you? You think taking care of her makes you some kind of saint. His breath smelled like whiskey and spite. But I always get what I want. Always. I should have slapped him. Instead, I smiled. Because I realized something important in that moment. Tony wasn't just greedy. He was scared. Scared of whatever secret he'd buried with Mama. Scared I might know more than he thought. And when a bad person gets scared, they get sloppy. I stepped back and locked eyes with Melissa. You're gonna regret tying yourself to him, I said. Tony opened his mouth to spit some snark, but I cut him off. Get out of Mama's house. He stared at me, searching for even a flicker of doubt. I didn't blink. Finally, he scoffed and stormed out, the lawyer trailing behind. The second the door shut, I let my knees give out and collapsed right there on the floor, clutching Mama's will to my chest. But here's the thing, that fear I felt? It didn't break me. It woke me up. If Tony wanted a war, I was damn well going to give him one. Because I wasn't alone. Mama had left me more than a house. She left me the truth. And I had just enough fight left in me to use it. I didn't know it yet, but exposing the truth about Mama's last days would destroy lives, tear open secrets this town thought were buried for good, and drag my own brother into the dark spotlight he desperately wanted to avoid. And honey, trust me when I tell you, the real nightmare was only just getting started. That night I couldn't sleep. I lay in Mama's bed, staring at the ceiling fan creaking like it always had, thinking about that empty shoebox, that missing $50,000, and Tony showing up like a wolf sniffing blood. My heart kept pounding like it was warning me something worse was coming. Around 2 a.m., my phone buzzed. Unknown number. At first, I thought it was one of those spam calls about car warranties. But something told me to look. It was a text message. He took more than money. I sat straight up. My breath caught in my throat. Before I could type a response, another message came in. He's lying about the night your mother died. My hands shook so badly I dropped the phone. Who the hell was this? And how did they know about Tony? I texted back. Who is this? 3 dots appeared, then vanished. No reply. I paced the floor until sunrise, replaying Mama's last days. She had gotten sick fast, too fast. Tony showed up out of nowhere right before she passed, saying he wanted to help. Then he left town as soon as the funeral ended. At the time, I was devastated, too broken to notice anything strange. But now every memory felt like a damn puzzle piece falling into place. At 8 a.m., there was a knock on the door. I peeked through the curtain and saw my niece, Rachel, Tony's daughter. She looked scared. I opened the door and pulled her inside before anyone saw her. Aunt Linda, she whispered, shaking. I did something bad. My stomach dropped. Sweetheart, slow down. What happened? She handed me a flash drive. Dad made me delete something from Grandma's phone the night she died. But I copied it first. I swear, my heart stopped beating. What did he make you delete? I whispered. Rachel looked me dead in the eyes. A voicemail. From Grandma. She was trying to call you. I stumbled backward like I'd been hit. Play it, I said. Rachel grabbed Mama's old phone from a drawer. I hadn't even powered it on since she passed. We plugged in the flash drive and pressed play. Mama's voice crackled through the speaker. Shaky, scared. Linda. Honey. I don't feel right. Tony gave me some kind of new pills, but they're making it hard to breathe. Please come quickly. The message cut off with a thud, like the phone dropping. I covered my mouth, trying not to scream. Tony didn't just steal money. He gave Mama something. Something that might have killed her. Suddenly, Rachel grabbed my arm. Aunt Linda, Dad is capable of terrible things. You need to run. But before I could answer, we heard a loud slam against the front door. Bam, bam, bam. Rachel's eyes widened. He followed me. I pulled her toward the back door. Go out the kitchen, head to Mrs. Parker's house. She'll hide you. What about you? She cried. I shoved her outside. Go. I shut the door and locked it right as Tony's voice echoed from the porch. Linda, open the damn door. I backed away slowly. He pounded again, harder this time. I didn't dare breathe. I know you have something that belongs to me, he roared. My phone buzzed. Another text from the unknown number. Don't let him in. He wants the will. Then, he won't give up until you're gone too. Gone. That word churned my stomach. Tony wasn't just trying to take the house. He was trying to take my life, the exact same way he took Mama's. Tony rattled the doorknob violently, cursed loud enough to shake the walls, then stormed off. I stayed frozen until his truck peeled out of the driveway. That was the moment I stopped being scared. That was the moment everything changed. I grabbed the will, the voicemail, every document I could find, threw it all into Mama's old leather purse, and headed straight to Sheriff Carl's office. When I walked in, Carl looked up, and I swear he could see the rage in my eyes. I need to report a murder, I said. He stood up fast. Linda, what are you talking about? My mother didn't die from being sick. Tony poisoned her. Carl's face dropped. Do you have proof? I pulled out the flash drive like a damn sword. He plugged it in, listened to Mama's voicemail, and his jaw clenched tight. That son of a, he hissed. Why didn't she call 911? She tried. I snapped. He got rid of her phone and silenced her. Carl rubbed his forehead. This is serious, Linda. If this is real, Tony's in deep trouble. Real. I repeated, shaking. Carl, he just tried to break into the house to get rid of the evidence. Carl grabbed his keys. We need to get you somewhere safe. I laughed through tears. Safe. I won't be safe until Tony's in a cell. You will be, he said. But we have to follow procedure. Procedure. What a slow, useless word. He placed Mama's phone into an evidence bag. I'll need to file for a warrant before we search Tony's property. Do it fast, I warned. Tony's getting desperate. Carl nodded. Linda, you can stay with my sister tonight. Nobody will look for you there. I nodded, but inside? My mind was already spinning ahead. I wasn't hiding. I was planning. But then Carl's radio crackled. Units respond. Fire reported at Walker residence. Fire. Fire at Mama's house. Carl and I locked eyes. Tony wasn't trying to hide evidence anymore. He was trying to erase it, and me, all at once. Carl ran out and jumped into his patrol car. Get in. We sped through town while smoke curled into the sky. Black, thick, terrifying. My heart cracked when I saw the flames swallowing the porch where Mama and I used to sip sweet tea. 3 fire trucks were already there. Neighbors stood in disbelief. Mama's house, the place that held her laughter, her recipes, her scent, was burning to the ground. And then I saw him. Tony. Standing across the street, arms crossed, smirking. Like he was watching a show he scripted himself. My blood boiled so hot I thought I'd explode. Carl stepped in front of me to hold me back. Don't. Not now. Tony's eyes locked on mine. He lifted 2 fingers to his forehead and saluted me. That was it. That was the moment fear died inside me. He wanted war. He was about to learn how ruthless a woman can be when you take everything she loves. I whispered under my breath. I will bury you, Tony. One way or another. The unknown number texted again. This fire isn't the only thing he's done. Dig deeper. The message burned hotter than the flames. And that's when I realized. This wasn't just about Mama's house. This wasn't just about money. Tony had skeletons hidden everywhere, and someone out there wanted me to find them. I wiped my tears, stared at that fire like it was forging a new version of me, and made a promise. Tony thought he was the predator, but he was about to meet the animal he created. Because if he wanted me gone, he should have killed me first. Firefighters fought the flames for over an hour, but Mama's house was already gone by the time the sun fully rose. All those years of memories turned into black ash on the ground. People tried to talk to me, neighbors, church ladies, even the damn mailman, but their voices were just noise in the smoke. Carl stood beside me, arms crossed, jaw clenched tight. Linda. I'm so sorry. I stared straight ahead. It was him. Carl nodded, but he couldn't act without proof. Meanwhile, Tony strutted around like a rooster who burned down a henhouse. When the last flame finally died, he smirked at me again and drove away like he owned the world. I wanted to chase after him. I wanted to drag him out of that truck and scream in his face. But I didn't. I felt something new grow inside me. Rage, yes, but sharpened into focus. If Tony wanted to make me homeless, frightened, and alone, he had another thing coming. By afternoon, Carl drove me to his sister's place, a small duplex on Maple Street. She welcomed me with a hug and a casserole, as small-town hospitality requires. I thanked her, but food felt like chalk in my mouth. I lay in the guest room staring at the popcorn ceiling, my phone clutched in my hand, waiting for that unknown texter to contact me again. Hours passed. Nothing. I finally fell asleep, if you can call it sleep, just before midnight. A banging at the front door jolted me awake. I shot up in bed, heart hammering. I cracked the blinds and peeked out. A police cruiser. Carl. I hurried to the door, unlocking it fast. He stepped inside with a folder in his hand, his expression serious. You need to hear this. He opened the folder and laid a printed email on the table. Earlier tonight, someone sent this to the department anonymously. I sat down, squinting at the message. It was typed, so no handwriting clues. But the content made my blood freeze. It listed a series of financial transactions, all under Mama's name. Each withdrawal or payment went to the same place, a private nursing facility across town. I frowned. Mama never stayed there. What the hell is this? Carl rubbed his chin. It looks like your brother had her signed up for experimental treatment. Signed paperwork in her name. Why wouldn't she tell me? I whispered. Maybe she didn't know, Carl said gently. Then he showed me something else, a scanned medical report. The signature on it was forged, sloppy. The L in Linda was backwards. Tony had signed my name on medical documents for Mama. And that wasn't even the worst part. A second report listed the medication given to Mama a week before she died. Lorazepam. High dosage. Enough to sedate someone into unconsciousness. I felt like throwing up. He drugged her. Carl nodded grimly. Looks like it. I pushed my chair back and stood up fast. We have to arrest him. Now. Linda. Carl stepped in front of me. It's not that simple. What do you mean? I snapped. You have a forged signature. You have drug records. You have motive. Carl lowered his voice. The facility director said Tony told them your mother was combative and confused. He claimed you were overwhelmed and asked for temporary care. I swallowed hard. So he set it up. He made them think Mama was losing her mind. And if he can convince a judge you are too, Carl added, then everything would be his. The accounts. The paperwork. The decision-making power. Even me. The walls closed in around me. I gripped the back of the chair to steady myself. Carl reached out gently. Linda. We'll get him. But we have to do this by the book. Screw the book. By the book is how good people end up 6 feet under. Before I could argue, my phone dinged. I snatched it up fast. Check his storage unit on Highway 9. Unit 37. Don't go alone. I looked at Carl. We're going. He hesitated. We need a warrant. We need the truth, I shot back. He sighed, defeated by my determination, and grabbed his keys. Fine. But you stay behind me. We drove through the quiet streets, headlights cutting through the thick country darkness. The storage facility sat outside town, past the farms and the old drive-in. Big metal fence. Security keypad. A place for secrets. Carl put in a universal code. We slipped inside. Rows of metal units stretched into the night, each one cold and silent. My stomach twisted with every step. Unit 37 was near the back. Carl shined his flashlight on the lock, hanging open. Someone's been here, he whispered. I took a step closer. The door squeaked as Carl rolled it up. Inside, we found stacks of boxes labeled with names I recognized only too well. Mama's friends. Relatives. Old neighbors. People who had passed away in the last 5 years. My voice cracked. Why would Tony have their stuff? Carl walked to a box labeled M. Henson, Mama's friend Marlene who died last spring. He opened it. Inside were bank statements, jewelry, life insurance paperwork. Carl's voice was low. Jesus Christ. Tony wasn't just a thief. He was running a damn operation, preying on the elderly. taking advantage of their trust, stealing pieces of their lives, and maybe shortening them too. I grabbed another box, from a man who died after a fall down the stairs. Another person Tony had been close to helping. I covered my mouth. He's been doing this for years. Carl took photos, documented everything quickly. We need to get this to the district attorney. Tonight. Then we both froze. A noise. The rustle of footsteps outside. Carl drew his gun. Stay behind me. A shadow passed by the entrance. Slow, heavy steps. Whoever it was, they were waiting for us to walk out. Carl pointed to the back emergency exit. It led into the field behind the facility. We slipped out quietly, moving through tall grass. My heart banged so loud I was sure it'd give us away. We reached the patrol car, barely breathing. Carl shoved me inside and floored it back onto the road. My phone buzzed again. He knows you were there. Be careful. I clutched the phone so tight it hurt. He was waiting. He was watching. He's unhinged and desperate, Carl muttered. That makes him dangerous as hell. No, I corrected him, staring out the window as the dark road disappeared behind us. He's always been dangerous as hell. When we reached Carl's sister's house again, my knees nearly gave out as I climbed the steps. Before I walked inside, Carl stopped me. I'll request a judge's warrant first thing in the morning. Promise. I nodded slowly. Thank you. But in the back of my mind, I knew something Carl didn't know. Tony wasn't going to wait for morning. He already tried to burn me alive once. And a man like that, he doesn't stop until the body's buried. As Carl drove away, I checked my phone one more time. One new message. He killed your mother because she found out what he was doing. Don't let him do the same to you. My blood ran cold. This anonymous person knew everything. Everything. And if they were right, Mama wasn't the only one Tony had murdered. He had a whole damn trail of victims. I stepped into the dark guest room, locked the door, and sat with my back against it, gripping my phone like a lifeline. Tomorrow, he'd come again. I could feel it. And next time, he wouldn't miss. Morning came, but I didn't feel the warmth of it. My stomach was in knots, and every sound outside made me jump. I felt like prey, and Tony was circling, waiting for the moment I slipped. I showered quickly, just to feel human again, then walked into the kitchen where Carl's sister Maggie was humming while frying bacon. She slid a plate toward me with a smile. You look like you didn't sleep a wink. I didn't, I admitted. She squeezed my hand gently. Carl says you're going through hell. You let us worry about you now. I appreciated her kindness, but worry wasn't enough. I needed action. Before I could take a bite, Maggie's phone rang. She answered, and her face went pale. Yes, she's right here. She handed me the phone. A woman's voice, cold, sharp, and way too familiar. Linda, this is Melissa, Tony's lawyer. I gripped the phone tighter. How did you get this number? That doesn't matter, she said. What matters is your brother has filed a petition for emergency guardianship. Claims you're mentally unstable, violent, and a danger to yourself and others. I felt like ice poured through my veins. He's lying. That's for the judge to decide, she replied smoothly. There's a hearing tomorrow morning at 9. If the petition is granted, law enforcement will take you into protective custody. You will lose the right to make any decisions until your mental evaluation is complete. My throat tightened. You can't be serious. Oh, I'm very serious, Melissa said. My advice. Don't fight it. You'll only make things worse. She hung up before I could scream every curse word I knew. Guardianship. Forced custody. He wanted to lock me away, right before the truth came out. Maggie steadied me as I swayed. Sit. Honey. Catch your breath. But I couldn't breathe. I needed Carl. I grabbed my purse and rushed toward the door, when I froze. A black SUV idled across the street. Tinted windows. Engine running. Watching. Waiting. My chest tightened. He's already here. Maggie peeked out and cursed under her breath. Oh hell no. Get in the car. She grabbed her keys, dragging me to her truck parked in the driveway. As soon as she started the engine, the SUV pulled forward like a shark tailing its next meal. We sped down Maple Street. Every turn we made, that SUV stayed right behind us. He's trying to scare you, Maggie muttered, gripping the wheel tight. He doesn't need to try, I said, voice trembling. She slammed a hand on the horn and swerved abruptly into the police station parking lot. The SUV screeched to a stop a block away, then took off. We burst through the front doors into a maze of uniforms and ringing phones. Carl spotted us immediately. He rushed over. Linda, what's wrong? I could barely speak. They're trying to declare me unfit. Tomorrow morning. They want to lock me up, Carl. His jaw dropped. They can't do that without medical proof. They will if Tony pays the right people, I said. You saw those files. He's been getting away with crimes for years. Carl rubbed his face. Okay. I'll talk to the judge. We'll stall it. Buy time. Time for what? I asked. He looked me straight in the eyes. To take Tony down. Right then, a deputy rushed over with a report in hand. Sheriff. We just got the fire marshal's ruling. That house fire was arson. Carl whispered a curse. Any suspects? The deputy hesitated. Actually, yeah. A witness reported seeing a woman near the scene right before the fire. Said she matched Linda Walker's description. I felt the room tilt. What? Deputy kept reading. They're requesting to bring her in for questioning. Carl ripped the report out of his hands. Bullshit. Linda was with me the whole time. The deputy shrugged helplessly. Sheriff, they're saying she slipped away during the chaos. Melissa. That snake. She was planting evidence and twisting every damn thing to make me look guilty. Carl's eyes were full of fire. I'm shutting this down. Now. While he stormed into his office, I leaned against the wall, trying to keep from crumbling. Maggie rubbed my back gently. This is what abusers do, she said quietly. They make you look crazy while they tear you apart. I swallowed hard. I won't let him win. Maggie nodded, proud, fierce. Damn right. Carl finally returned, still fuming. I contacted a friend, criminal investigator in Clearwater. He's taking the case personally. We'll have backup soon. I felt a flicker of hope, until my phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Step outside. You need to see this. I turned my head toward the glass entrance doors, and I saw it. Tony, standing on the sidewalk, grinning wide, holding a handgun in one hand, and a gasoline can in the other. For a second, my whole body froze. Maggie gasped. Carl's hand flew to his weapon. Tony raised the gas can, and dumped it all over his own truck. My mouth dropped open. What is he doing? He locked eyes with me, wicked and calm, and struck a lighter. The explosion echoed, boom, rattling windows as flames shot into the sky. People screamed. Officers swarmed outside. Carl grabbed me, shielding me from the blasts of heat spraying glass and metal. Tony collapsed dramatically to the ground, screaming. She did this. Linda tried to kill me. Sirens wailed as more officers rushed over. Firefighters sprinted to the blaze. Tony pointed right at me, sobbing like the world's best damn actor. She set my truck on fire. She's trying to kill me just like she killed our mother. I stepped forward, ready to rip his lying tongue right out of his mouth, but Carl held me back. Say nothing, he whispered. Cops swarmed around us. One approached cautiously. Ma'am, we need to take you into protective custody until we figure out what's going on. No, I snapped. You can't arrest me for something I didn't do. Carl stood between me and the officers. She stays with me. The cop hesitated, but didn't argue. Tony was loaded onto a stretcher, still yelling accusations like a madman. Except he wasn't mad. He was cunning. As paramedics pushed him past us, he stopped yelling and smiled, just for me. A cold, dead smile. One way or another, he whispered, you're going down. I lunged at him, but Carl grabbed me before I did something I'd regret. My voice shook as I shouted after him. You should be the one in cuffs. You killed our mother. Tony didn't respond. He didn't need to. The show he staged was already in motion. Carl finally pulled me inside. Linda, listen to me. We can use this. How? Anger tore through me. He just made me look insane in front of the entire damn county. That means he's scared, Carl said. He knows we're close. We force him to make mistakes. I sank into a chair, shaking uncontrollably. I don't want him to make mistakes. I want him stopped. Carl crouched in front of me. We will. But you have to trust me. I closed my eyes. Trust. That word felt heavy. My phone buzzed again. One message. Do not let him isolate you. He wants control. He wants everything. Finish what your mother started. Finish what Mama started. I took a deep breath. Something inside me shifted then. I wasn't just fighting for a house anymore. I wasn't just fighting for my life. I was fighting for Mama. For every person Tony hurt. And for every person he'd hurt next if he wasn't stopped. When I opened my eyes again, Carl saw the change in me. "You ready?" he asked. I stood tall. "Oh, I'm ready," I said. "Let's end him." Carl insisted I stay at the station while he worked on the warrant. I didn't argue. I was tired of running like a hunted animal. I wanted walls, locks, witnesses, something that made Tony think twice before creeping out of the shadows again. But even sitting inside a police station, with officers all around, I couldn't shake the feeling that Tony was watching me, waiting, planning his next move. He always planned the next move. Carl walked past me, talking into his radio, listing evidence they'd found in the storage unit. I should have felt encouraged. We finally had real proof of what Tony was doing. But fear had a way of choking out hope before it could breathe. I sat there, staring at the scuffed linoleum floor, when my phone buzzed again. "He's losing control. That's when he's most dangerous." I typed back. "Who are you? Why are you helping me?" 3 dots appeared. Then a message. "Because she helped me first." She. My heart lurched. "Mama." I whispered into the empty air. "Mama, what were you involved in?" Before I could type another word, I got a video link. No text, no explanation. Just a link. I clicked. The video was grainy, a dingy room with a single bed. An oxygen machine sat against the wall. I leaned closer, heart racing. Mama. Lying in the bed, pale and weak, clearly filmed during her final days. A man stood beside her, blocking part of the camera. He held a syringe. "Tony." My lungs collapsed. Mama's voice was faint, terrified. "Tony, please, no more. I don't like how it makes me feel." Tony's voice was low, calm. "It's just medicine, Ma. It helps you sleep." "No," she begged. "I need to see Linda. She'll know what to." Tony pressed a pillow over her face. I shot up from the chair so fast it toppled over. "No. No, 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 no." My knees buckled. I leaned against the desk, shaking violently as the video kept playing. Tony held her down. She fought, then stopped fighting. I wanted to tear the world apart, to scream so loud I broke windows, to claw through time itself and save her. But I could only watch as Tony murdered our mother. The video ended. My heart didn't. Carl rushed over. "Linda, what happened?" I shoved the phone at him. "Watch it." He pressed play, and the fire in his eyes turned into a full-on inferno. "That son of a bitch," he muttered. "This is it. This is the damn nail in his coffin. He killed her," I whispered, voice cracking. She was begging him to stop and he. Carl grabbed my arms, steadying me. "We're arresting him. Tonight." I wiped tears from my face with the back of my hand. I wasn't crying from fear anymore. I was crying from pure, raw fury. Carl barked orders, deputies grabbing gear, radios buzzing like hornets. There was movement everywhere. Urgent, focused. For the first time, I felt like justice was within reach. But then my phone chimed again. "Don't trust everyone in that building." I froze. Carl was still watching the video in the corner, fists clenched. I typed back fast. "What do you mean?" The answer came quickly. "Tony has friends in law enforcement. Be careful who you talk to." I looked around the station, suddenly suspicious of every pair of eyes. Who here was on Tony's side? Who would try to bury the evidence? Sabotage the case? Linda. Maggie tapped my shoulder gently. "You okay? You look like you saw a ghost." I swallowed hard. "I just need some air." Carl nodded, barely looking up. "Don't go far. We ride in 5. I stepped outside into the parking lot, cool air working its way into my lungs. The station lights buzzed overhead like a warning sign. I clutched my phone. "Tell me what else you know." The response came fast. "Your mother wasn't his first. And she wasn't going to be his last. He's doing this for someone. For someone." My stomach twisted. Someone else was benefiting from this. Someone pulling strings behind Tony like a puppet. I typed, "Who?" The reply was delayed this time. Longer. Like they were debating telling me. When the message finally came, my blood turned to ice. "Your father." I stared at the screen so long my eyes burned. Finally, I typed, "My father died 20 years ago." My breath hitched as a new message popped up instantly. "That's what you were told." My entire body went cold. A gust of wind whipped around me like the world was responding to the shock. Dad wasn't dead. Mama had mourned him. We had buried him. I remembered the funeral, the closed casket, the pastor, Mama weeping into a handkerchief. I was in my 40s. It wasn't some childhood memory I invented. He was gone. Wasn't he? My hands shook as I typed. Where is he? No reply. Tell me where he is. Still nothing. Linda. Carl called from the doorway. We're rolling. You coming? I slipped my phone into my pocket, mind spinning like a storm. Tony wasn't acting alone. There was a bigger monster behind him. One I wasn't prepared to face. As we climbed into the cruiser, police cars revving up around us, lights flashing against the night, I stared through the windshield and whispered to myself, Daddy, what did you do? Carl hit the sirens, following the other units toward Tony's apartment on the west side of town. Officers moved like wolves closing in on their prey. But as we approached the complex, something didn't feel right. It was too quiet. Too still. And Tony's truck? Gone. Carl cursed under his breath. Damn it. Someone tipped him off. Someone inside the station. Carl ordered officers to sweep every unit, every hallway. They kicked in doors, shouted warnings. No Tony. I walked through the chaos like a ghost until I noticed something. Tony's door was wide open. Not forced, just left ajar, swinging slightly in the wind. A dim lamp flickered inside. Against Carl's orders, I stepped in. The stench hit me first. Something chemical, sharp and unsettling. Like bleach mixed with gasoline. The place was wiped clean. Walls bare. Counters empty. Like no one had lived there at all. Except for one thing. A note on the table. My name in Tony's handwriting. My fingers felt numb picking it up. You shouldn't have watched that video. The room spun. The floor felt like it was sliding out from under me. Carl. I croaked. He knew. Before Carl reached me, a phone lying on the counter buzzed. The screen lit up. Video call. The caller ID, Dad. I stumbled backward. No. No. This isn't real. Carl grabbed the phone and answered with speaker on. A man's voice. Deep. Calm. Too familiar. Hello, Linda. My lungs forgot how to work. Dad. Alive. Carl's hand hovered over his holster, jaw clenched. Why? I whispered. You're dead. Dad chuckled. Cruel, cold. I suppose you could say I was reborn. I pressed a hand against my chest, trying to hold myself together. You took everything from us, I said. From Mama. From me. There's more to this than you know, Dad murmured. And your mother made a very poor decision getting in the way. My heart cracked open. You killed her, I said. No, Dad replied calmly. Tony handled the details. I stared at the phone, shaking with rage and disbelief. You bastard. Carl ended the call before I could scream the rest. He grabbed my shoulders. We're leaving. Now. I nodded, but my mind stayed behind, trapped in that ringing silence after the call. Dad was alive. Mama was murdered. Tony was a weapon, not the mastermind. And whatever they were doing, it wasn't over. As Carl guided me out, the phone buzzed again in his hand. One new message from the anonymous number. Now you see the truth. Get ready, Linda. The worst is yet to come. My pulse pounded. Because if this wasn't the worst, then God help us all. As Carl rushed me out of Tony's empty apartment, my legs felt like they belonged to someone else. My mind was still stuck on that voice from the phone. My father's voice. The same voice that used to read me bedtime stories, now confessing to murder like it was business. The way the world can twist on you in a single night should be illegal. The night air slapped me in the face as we reached the cars. The flashing police lights painted everything red and blue, like a warning. Officers were still searching the area, but I knew Tony wasn't here. He was long gone. Dad had made sure of it. Carl opened the back door of the cruiser for me. We're going to my place. It's the safest option until morning. I slid in without arguing. I'd run out of bravery for the night. The door shut with a heavy thud that sealed me inside reality. Carl sped through the streets, his eyes shifting constantly between the road and the mirror. Whoever that was on the phone. You're sure it was your father? I stared at the city lights smearing past the windows. That voice, it was him. I don't care what lies he told about dying, that was my dad. Carl kept driving, but I could feel his concern radiating like heat. Linda, why would your mother lie about your father's death? He asked. She wouldn't, I shot back. Mama couldn't lie to save her life. But as soon as I said it, a memory flickered in my brain. Mama shaking her head at the funeral. Refusing to look at the casket. No. I wasn't ready to unpack that. So if she didn't lie, Carl said slowly, maybe someone lied to both of you. Someone like my father. The thought made bile crawl up my throat. We pulled into Carl's driveway, a modest brick house with a porch swing and a flag in the front yard. Maggie was already waiting at the door, arms folded tight, eyes full of worry. She ushered me inside, locking every bolt behind us. I set up the guest room again. You can rest. We'll keep watch. Rest. I wasn't sure I remembered how. I sank into the couch while Carl went to call the DA about the new evidence. My eyes drifted to the window. A street lamp flickered outside. Just once. Then again. I squinted. No, not flickering. Someone was walking past it. Slowly. Deliberately. A dark figure, blocking the light each time they moved. My heartbeat slammed into a sprint. Carl. I whispered sharply. He was still on the phone, back turned. The figure stopped directly in front of the house. Watching. The porch light buzzed louder as if electricity itself sensed danger. Carl. I hissed. He turned and glanced through the window. His hand dropped to his gun instantly. The figure took one step forward. Carl grabbed the radio. Possible suspect outside the residence. Back up now. Maggie rushed to the front of the house, turning off lights. Get away from the window, Linda. But before we could move, a brick shattered the glass. I screamed as glass rained across the floor. The brick rolled near my feet, and something was tied to it. A piece of paper. Carl dragged me behind the sofa while Maggie grabbed a flashlight and scanned the yard. The figure was already running, disappearing between houses like a shadow melting into darker shadow. Carl grabbed the note with gloved hands. His eyes narrowed as he read. What does it say? I demanded. He hesitated. Maybe you don't want to. Carl, I said firmly. Tell me. He exhaled through his nose and passed it to me. Give up. Or you die like she did. I felt the chill crawl up my spine and settle like ice. My hands clenched the paper until it crumpled into my palm. Carl's radio erupted with static. Officers were scanning the neighborhood. Too late. Tony was a phantom now. And phantoms are impossible to catch. Carl turned to me, face tense. We need to protect you and we need to do it smart. Maggie placed a warm blanket over my shoulders, but I felt nothing. I'm not going into hiding, I said. Not anymore. Carl sat across from me, leaning forward. If we don't handle this right, they'll destroy you in court before we ever get a chance to nail them for murder. They. I swallowed hard, forced the word out. My father is alive. Isn't he? Carl's jaw tightened. We need proof first. Proof. Carl cursed under his breath. Damn it. Someone tipped him off. Someone inside the station. Carl ordered officers to sweep every unit, every hallway. They kicked in doors, shouted warnings. No Tony. I walked through the chaos like a ghost until I noticed something. Tony's door was wide open. Not forced, just left ajar, swinging slightly in the wind. A dim lamp flickered inside. Against Carl's orders, I stepped in. The stench hit me first. Something chemical, sharp and unsettling. Like bleach mixed with gasoline. The place was wiped clean. Walls bare. Counters empty. Like no one had lived there at all. Except for one thing. A note on the table. My name in Tony's handwriting. My fingers felt numb picking it up. You shouldn't have watched that video. The room spun. The floor felt like it was sliding out from under me. Carl. I croaked. He knew. Before Carl reached me, a phone lying on the counter buzzed. The screen lit up. Video call. The caller ID, Dad. I stumbled backward. No. No, no, no. This isn't real. Carl grabbed the phone and answered with speaker on. A man's voice. Deep. Calm. Too familiar. Hello, Linda. My lungs forgot how to work. Dad. Alive. Carl's hand hovered over his holster, jaw clenched. Why? I whispered. You're dead. Dad chuckled. Cruel. Cold. I suppose you could say I was reborn. I pressed a hand against my chest, trying to hold myself together. You took everything from us, I said. From Mama. From me. There's more to this than you know, Dad murmured. And your mother made a very poor decision getting in the way. My heart cracked open. You killed her, I said. No, Dad replied calmly. Tony handled the details. I stared at the phone, shaking with rage and disbelief. You bastard. Carl ended the call before I could scream the rest. He grabbed my shoulders. We're leaving. Now. I nodded, but my mind stayed behind, trapped in that ringing silence after the call. Dad was alive. Mama was murdered. Tony was a weapon, not the mastermind. And whatever they were doing, it wasn't over. As Carl guided me out, the phone buzzed again in his hand. One new message from the anonymous number. Now you see the truth. Get ready, Linda. The worst is yet to come. My pulse pounded. Because if this wasn't the worst, then God help us all. As Carl rushed me out of Tony's empty apartment, my legs felt like they belonged to someone else. My mind was still stuck on that voice from the phone. My father's voice. The same voice that used to read me bedtime stories, now confessing to murder like it was business. The way the world can twist on you in a single night should be illegal. The night air slapped me in the face as we reached the cars. The flashing police lights painted everything red and blue, like a warning. Officers were still searching the area, but I knew Tony wasn't here. He was long gone. Dad had made sure of it. Carl opened the back door of the cruiser for me. We're going to my place. It's the safest option until morning. I slid in without arguing. I'd run out of bravery for the night. The door shut with a heavy thud that sealed me inside reality. Carl sped through the streets, his eyes shifting constantly between the road and the mirror. Whoever that was on the phone. You're sure it was your father? I stared at the city lights smearing past the windows. That voice, it was him. I don't care what lies he told about dying, that was my dad. Carl kept driving, but I could feel his concern radiating like heat. Linda, why would your mother lie about your father's death? He asked. She wouldn't, I shot back. Mama couldn't lie to save her life. But as soon as I said it, a memory flickered in my brain. Mama shaking her head at the funeral. Refusing to look at the casket. No, I wasn't ready to unpack that. So if she didn't lie, Carl said slowly, maybe someone lied to both of you. Someone like my father. The thought made bile crawl up my throat. We pulled into Carl's driveway, a modest brick house with a porch swing and a flag in the front yard. Maggie was already waiting at the door, arms folded tight, eyes full of worry. She ushered me inside, locking every bolt behind us. I set up the guest room again. You can rest. We'll keep watch. Rest. I wasn't sure I remembered how. I sank into the couch while Carl went to call the DA about the new evidence. My eyes drifted to the window. A street lamp flickered outside. Just once. Then again. I squinted. No, not flickering. Someone was walking past it. Slowly. Deliberately. A dark figure, blocking the light each time they moved. My heartbeat slammed into a sprint. Carl. I whispered sharply. He was still on the phone, back turned. The figure stopped directly in front of the house. Watching. The porch light buzzed louder as if electricity itself sensed danger. Carl. I hissed. He turned and glanced through the window. His hand dropped to his gun instantly. The figure took one step forward. Carl grabbed the radio. Possible suspect outside the residence. Back up now. Maggie rushed to the front of the house, turning off lights. Get away from the window, Linda. But before we could move, a brick shattered the glass. I screamed as glass rained across the floor. The brick rolled near my feet, and something was tied to it. A piece of paper. Carl dragged me behind the sofa while Maggie grabbed a flashlight and scanned the yard. The figure was already running, disappearing between houses like a shadow melting into darker shadow. Carl grabbed the note with gloved hands. His eyes narrowed as he read. What does it say? I demanded. He hesitated. Maybe you don't want to. Carl, I said firmly. Tell me. He exhaled through his nose and passed it to me. Give up. Or you die like she did. I felt the chill crawl up my spine and settle like ice. My hands clenched the paper until it crumpled into my palm. Carl's radio erupted with static. Officers were scanning the neighborhood. Too late. Tony was a phantom now. And phantoms are impossible to catch. Carl turned to me, face tense. We need to protect you and we need to do it smart. Maggie placed a warm blanket over my shoulders, but I felt nothing. I'm not going into hiding, I said. Not anymore. Carl sat across from me, leaning forward. If we don't handle this right, they'll destroy you in court before we ever get a chance to nail them for murder. They. I swallowed hard, forced the word out. My father is alive. Isn't he? Carl's jaw tightened. We need proof first. Proof. The word repeated in my skull like drumbeats. My phone buzzed again. I nearly dropped it. They want you scared. Good. Fear keeps you alert. I typed. Who are you? How do you know all this? A moment passed. He faked his death to avoid prison. My throat closed. For killing a patient. Patient. My father was a doctor. A brilliant one. The kind everyone trusted. The kind that gets away with anything until they slip up just once. Another message. Your mother discovered the truth. That's why she died. I gripped my phone so tightly my nails dug into the case. What do they want? I asked. The answer came like a punch to the chest. They want the house. Something hidden there. Something your mother refused to give them. I stared at the cracked window, imagining Tony's smirk, Dad's cold voice. I wanted to scream until every secret in this family tumbled out. Instead I whispered, Mama, what were you hiding? My phone chimed again. Check her sewing room. I blinked. What? Carl raised a brow. What is it? I showed him the text. He sighed. We can go back tomorrow when the fire site is safe. But Linda, that room is probably ashes. Even so, a spark of defiance lit inside me. Mama kept her sewing room locked when she wasn't in it. It wasn't just yarn and buttons. Not if she died protecting it. Carl stood up and holstered his weapon. I'll put 2 officers outside tonight. You try to rest. I went to the guest room again, but sleep wouldn't come. I stared out the window as dawn crept into the sky, painting the world a soft gray. The truth had stopped being a mystery. It was now a monster. Hungry. Fast. Desperate. And I was the only one standing between it and daylight. As the first ray of morning sun stretched over the horizon, my phone buzzed again. One last message. They're coming for you at the court hearing. Don't go alone. I stared at those words until they blurred, because they confirmed the one thing I already knew. Tomorrow, a war would be waged in that courtroom. And if I wasn't prepared, it wouldn't be justice that was served. It would be my damn funeral. Morning came fast and mean. I sat on the edge of the guest bed staring at the wall, coffee untouched on the nightstand. My hands wouldn't stop shaking, not from fear anymore, but from the certainty that today would be another battlefield. Carl knocked softly and stepped inside. Judge hasn't granted guardianship yet. Melissa filed for an emergency hearing first thing tomorrow. That gives us one more day. One more day to find something, I said. To prove they're murderers. Carl nodded. We're heading to the fire site. Investigators cleared a path. We'll check your mom's sewing room like the message said. I'll get my things, I said, grabbing Mama's purse, the only piece of home I had left. As we drove, Carl kept one hand on the steering wheel, the other on the radio. I called the investigator from Clearwater. He's coming in tonight. We're gonna hit Tony with everything we've got. I looked out the window, watching trees whip past. He's not the one I'm scared of anymore. Carl didn't need clarification. He'd heard the call. He knew. When we turned onto Mama's road, the smell of smoke still clung to the air. The house was nothing but a skeleton of charred beams and ash. My chest tightened like someone had wrapped a belt around my lungs and pulled. Fire tape fluttered in the wind. Officers nodded as we ducked under. I walked slowly, like approaching a grave. Because that's exactly what I was doing. My entire life had burned here. Carl led the way through what used to be the living room, his boots crunching on broken glass. The sewing room was in the back left, right? Yes, I whispered. We stepped over collapsed beams until we reached the corner where Mama used to keep her sewing machine, the one Dad bought her when he was still pretending to be a good man. Everything was black and twisted, except a small section of floor near the back wall. The fire hadn't reached it. Carl crouched, brushing aside debris. Beneath a sheet of scorched drywall was a tiny trapdoor. My breath hitched. Mama had never mentioned that. Carl lifted the panel carefully. Inside was a small metal lockbox, fireproof. The outside was covered in ash, but intact. Looks like you were right to trust that message, Carl said. He pried open the box. Inside were stacks of papers, a few photographs, and an old cassette tape. My heart thudded. Mama kept the truth down here. Hidden. Carl slid the tape into an evidence bag. We'll listen to that at the station. I reached for one of the photos. It was Mama, standing next to a woman I didn't recognize. Young, blonde, lab coat. The back of the photo read, Dr. Keller, she knows. I frowned. Who the hell is Dr. Keller? Carl tucked the photo away. We'll find out. As we headed back toward the driveway, I felt something under my shoe. I bent down and pulled up a half-burned envelope. My name was scribbled on the front in Mama's handwriting. I opened it slowly. Sweetheart, if you are reading this, it means I've run out of time. There is something your father never told us. Something he hid before he disappeared. Find the blue notebook. It has all the answers. The blue notebook. The one she always kept in her sewing basket. My eyes darted around the ashes, searching. Carl saw me panicking. Linda, what are you looking for? The blue notebook. It has everything. Mama said so. We combed the rubble. I dug with my bare hands, ignoring the sting of hot cinders biting into my skin. Please, I whispered. Please still be here. Then I saw a corner of bright blue fabric peeking from under a beam. Yes, I cried, reaching for it. Carl grabbed the beam and lifted. I snatched the notebook free, hugging it to my chest. Singed edges, but mostly intact. Carl smiled. That could be our case right there. Suddenly, his radio blared with frantic chatter. Shots fired, officer down, Maple and Oak, repeat, officer down. Carl's face went white. That was near his house. Maggie, he breathed, already sprinting. We raced to the cruiser and tore down the road at full speed, sirens blaring. My heart slammed against my ribs. If Tony hurt Maggie. We screeched onto Carl's street. One patrol car was in the ditch, windshield shattered. Another officer knelt beside a fallen deputy, leg bleeding, torn open by a bullet. Carl yelled, "Where is he?" The deputy pointed with a shaking hand. He went inside. Inside Carl's house. Where Maggie was. Carl ran for the porch, gun raised. I followed without thinking, fear dragging me like a puppet on strings. The front door was cracked open. Carl pushed it wider, cautiously. Maggie! A whimper came from the kitchen. We rushed in. Maggie sat on the floor, hands zip-tied, face bruised. Tears streaked down her cheeks. He was here, Carl. He said he needed to send you a message. Where is he now? Carl said, cutting the ties. Maggie shook her head. Gone. Through the back. But he left that. She pointed to the table. A phone. The same one from Tony's apartment. Screen lit up. Incoming call. Dad again. Carl put it on speaker. You son of a... Dad interrupted, voice dripping venom. You found the lockbox. Good. Carl's rage vibrated the air. You're going away for life. Both of you. Dad chuckled. So dramatic, Sheriff. You have no idea what you're dealing with. My voice shook. Why are you doing this? Why kill Mama? Why come after me? Dad lowered his tone like he was talking business. Your mother threatened everything. She found out about the trials, the work we were doing. She tried to expose us. And now you're digging around too. Trials. Experiments. A web of evil I couldn't yet see the edges of. You can't silence me, I said, teeth clenched. Oh, Linda. Dad sighed mockingly. It's so cute you think you're the hero here. Carl slammed his hand on the table. Where's Tony? Closer than you think, Dad replied. Then the line went dead. A window shattered in the living room. Carl pulled me to the ground and fired a shot through the broken glass. Officers outside shouted commands. Heavy boots thundered across the lawn. More gunshots cracked through the morning. Sirens roared. Someone screamed. Maggie trembled in my arms. He was right there. Standing in our kitchen like he belonged here. He said they're not scared of jail. They own people. Important people. My stomach twisted. How far does this go? Carl grabbed my hand and pulled me to my feet. Farther than we imagined. Police swarmed the yard, searching. But Tony had slipped away again. Before we left, Maggie squeezed my hands. You're gonna end this, Linda. I can feel it. I have to, I said. For Mama. For everyone Tony and Dad would hurt next. As Carl drove us away from the chaos, I clutched the blue notebook against my chest like a shield. Whatever Mama died to protect was inside these pages. And now that I had it, Tony and Dad would stop at nothing to take me out. Tomorrow's hearing wouldn't just be a legal fight. It would be war. Carl parked behind the police station so no one could see us arrive. Every nerve in my body felt stretched tight enough to snap. The blue notebook sat heavy in my lap, like it carried the weight of worlds. We slipped into Carl's office. He locked the door and drew the blinds while I sat trembling in the chair opposite his desk. Let's see what your mother died protecting, he said softly. I opened the first page, and immediately felt sick. A spreadsheet, hand-recorded in Mama's neat cursive. Names, addresses, dates of death, account closures, insurance payouts. So many names. Dozens. Elderly people Mama knew. People she visited, brought soup to, checked on after church. Each one connected to Dad and Tony. Each death tied to money, all funneled into private accounts. Money for their work. Their trials. Carl blew out a slow breath. Jesus Christ. This is organized homicide. I turned the page. More names. More death. And then, a number next to Mama's name. $20,000. Taken one day before she died. I closed my eyes, nausea washing over me. That proves motive and pattern, Carl said. We take this straight to the DA. But as I flipped another page, Carl froze, not at the victims list, but at a section marked with my name. Linda. Truth about her father. My fingers tightened around the page. Mama's handwriting was shaky here, like she had been crying while writing. Your father isn't who you think he is. He was part of a secret program to test medications on vulnerable patients. He faked his death to avoid prison when a patient died. I hid the evidence. He wants it back. Tony helped him. Be careful. They won't stop until they have you too. I stared at those words until letters blurred into one big betrayal. My whole life was a lie, I whispered. My father. He was never the man he pretended to be. Carl placed a steady hand on my shoulder. You're not to blame. Your mother kept you safe as long as she could. But Mama couldn't outrun monsters who sleep in the walls. I flipped again. Another section, sealed in clear laminate, a single sentence written large. If anything happens to me, show this to the authorities. Below that, taped to the page, a test result. DNA. I leaned in, heartbeat thundering. It listed my mother. But the father. Not Richard Walker. Not Tony's father. A completely different name. Dr. Marcus Keller. My tears hit the page before the shock even reached my voice. Carl. I choked. My father isn't my dad. Carl stared in disbelief. Then who the hell was the man on that call? Mama's photo of her with the blonde woman, Dr. Keller, flashed through my mind. My real father's last name. Keller. Whoever Dad was. He wasn't family. Not to me. Tony. Wasn't even my brother. Everything I knew had been set on fire. Carl whispered, they lied to you your entire life so they could use you. Your mother found out, and they killed her to keep that secret buried. I wiped my face with shaking hands. Why would they want me? Carl didn't answer. His silence said enough. There was more in that notebook. And I wasn't sure I wanted to know it. Before I could turn another page, the building's fire alarm exploded overhead. Red strobes flashed. A recorded voice boomed. Evacuate the building immediately. Carl jumped to his feet. He's here. Panic crawled up my spine like a cold spider. Carl snatched the blue notebook, shoved it under his jacket, and yanked open the office door. Officers streamed through hallway smoke that smelled of chemicals, not fire. A gas leak? No. Something worse. Eyes burned instantly. Coughs erupted all around. People stumbled, disoriented. Not smoke. Poison. Carl wrapped his arm around me. Keep your shirt over your mouth. Move. We pushed through chaos, every instinct screaming that Tony or the man pretending to be my father was somewhere in this madness, watching us choke. As we neared the exit, a dark figure stood alone near the double doors. Tall. Broad shoulders. Dressed in black. Waiting. Carl drew his gun. Get behind me. But I knew that silhouette. Even through the blur of gas and tears. Dad. I croaked. He smiled without warmth. There she is. Carl aimed. Hands in the air. Dad didn't move. Sheriff, please. I'm simply here to talk to my daughter. I pushed forward despite Carl trying to hold me back. You ruined everything. I screamed through coughs. You destroyed Mama's life, and mine. Dad tilted his head. Your mother was weak. She chose sentiment over survival. Survival. I spat. Is that what you call murder? Dad's expression hardened. Don't be naive. Sacrifice is necessary when changing the world. I felt my heart cracking with every word he spoke, tearing open scars I hadn't even known I had. Why am I on your list? I demanded. Why do you want me? He smiled again, too calm, too confident. Because this started with you. My stomach dropped. What did you do? Before he could answer, Carl fired a warning shot. Glass shattered, alarms blared louder. Dad stepped backward, calmly, like he knew the bullets wouldn't touch him. Tomorrow, he said. Courtroom. 9 a.m. We finish this. Then he disappeared through the exit just as emergency responders swarmed the doors. Carl grabbed me, pulling me into clean air outside. Sirens howled. Officers coughed and gasped on the pavement around us. My whole body shook uncontrollably. Mama wasn't the target. The victims weren't the target. Tony wasn't even important. It was always me. I clutched the blue notebook to my chest and whispered through gritted teeth. You picked the wrong woman to mess with. Dad thought he was finishing something tomorrow. But so was I. Courtroom mornings always feel too calm, like the world holding its breath before the chaos erupts. That's how it felt walking through those heavy oak doors, holding Mama's blue notebook under my arm like a shield. The judge sat high and stern, glasses perched on the end of her nose. Reporters lined the gallery. The crowd whispered, recognizing the woman accused of arson, attempted murder, and now, apparently, insanity. Me. Carl sat beside me at the defense table, jaw clenched, hands folded like he was praying this went right. His presence kept me from shaking apart. Across the aisle, Tony sat with Melissa. His arm was bandaged from the explosion he caused, and he wore that same smug expression that made me want to claw it off his face. He kept glancing at me like a cat who wanted to watch the mouse bleed. But the real monster wasn't him. He wasn't here. The judge banged her gavel. Emergency guardianship hearing for Linda Walker. Counsel, opening statement. Melissa stood like she'd been rehearsing this performance her whole life. Your Honor, my client seeks guardianship for his sister, who has exhibited violent and unstable behavior. She's lying, I muttered, including arson of her family home and attempted murder of her own brother. She set that fire herself. I stood up, furious. Carl gently pulled me back down. Let me handle it, he whispered. Melissa continued with crocodile tears. Ms. Walker is unable to care for herself. We're concerned she's a threat to others. I shot her a glare that could melt steel. She didn't even flinch. Then the judge turned to Carl. Sheriff, are you representing Ms. Walker as counsel? I'm here as a witness and advocate, Carl said. And I have evidence proving Linda Walker is the victim, not the perpetrator. Melissa scoffed loudly. Evidence that mysteriously appeared after the fire she allegedly caused? Carl ignored the jab. Your Honor, we have video footage that shows Tony Walker suffocating his mother with a pillow. Gasps rippled through the court. Tony's face went ghost white. Melissa jumped up. Objection. That video is tampered. We also have documentation of stolen funds, Carl continued, louder, forged medical signatures, and... That's enough. Melissa snapped. We request the evidence be suppressed due to questionable chain of custody. The judge slammed her gavel. Counsel, sit down. Melissa hissed and dropped into her chair. The judge turned to me. Ms. Walker, do you have anything to say regarding your mental state? I stood. My voice shook, but not from fear, from fury. I'm not unstable. I'm hunted. My brother is a murderer, and my father, the word tasted like poison, is alive and terrorizing me. They killed my mother to protect a criminal operation, and now they want to bury me too. Whispers filled the courtroom. Doubt, shock, gossip. I didn't care. I wasn't here to make friends. I opened the blue notebook. This contains names of victims, people who died under my father's care, financial records of money stolen, Mama's written testimony about what he did. The judge leaned forward. May I see that notebook? I hesitated for a heartbeat, then walked it to the bench myself, placing it in her hands. She studied the first pages, eyebrows rising. This appears to be very serious. If verified, criminal charges will follow immediately. Tony's smugness cracked. Panic flickered in his eyes. Melissa leaned toward him, whispering urgently. The judge looked up. We will recess for 30 minutes. I need time to review. The doors slammed open with such force they shook the walls. 2 men in black suits stormed inside. Very official. Too official. Everyone turned. One spoke loudly, flashing a badge. Federal Bureau of Investigation. We're here for the evidence and the defendant. Defendant. Me. Carl stood. Hold on. This is a county matter. The agent didn't blink. Not anymore. Another agent walked straight to the judge and handed her a document. Court order to transfer custody of all evidence and Ms. Linda Walker to federal jurisdiction. My heart hammered. What? Why me? The agent locked eyes with me. His voice was calm. Too calm. You're involved in a federal investigation, ma'am. Classified level. Carl planted himself between them and me. Over my dead body. The lead agent stepped closer. Sheriff, don't make this difficult. Then a slow clap echoed through the courtroom. A figure stood in the back. dark coat, hands together, smiling like a man admiring his own masterpiece. Dad. Alive. Smug. Sadistic. Every drop of blood in my body froze. Even the judge gaped. Sir, you cannot be in here. Oh, I think I can, Dad said, stepping forward like he owned the place. After all, this is my family. Tony sprang up from his seat. Dad, thank God. Dad ignored him completely. His eyes, those same eyes I inherited, locked only on me. You've done very well, Linda, he said softly. You found the notebook. You connected the dots. I trembled, nails digging into my palms. This ends now. Dad smiled wider. I couldn't agree more. He snapped his fingers. The two federal agents flanked me instantly, each gripping one of my arms. Cold metal handcuffs clicked around my wrists. No, Carl shouted, reaching for me, but more agents swarmed in, pinning him down. I kicked, fought, screamed, like a wild animal being dragged to slaughter. Let me go. He's the one you want. He's the murderer. People in the gallery stared, some horrified, some convinced I was exactly what Tony painted me to be, insane. I never believed blood could define destiny. But that was before I learned my entire life was a science experiment. My father wasn't just a bad man. He was a monster with a lab coat and a god complex. And I was his masterpiece. You were always the key, sweetheart. Those words shattered me. My father ordered armed agents to drag me away, while Carl, the man who swore he loved me, struggled uselessly against them. His voice echoed as the doors slammed closed. Linda, hold on. I'm coming for you. Darkness swallowed me whole. And in that darkness, voices whispered. Memories cracked open. Mama's warnings. Carl's lies. And Tony, my own brother, confessing in his final text that he betrayed me for money. The serum they injected into my bloodstream ignited every nerve. I woke strapped to a hospital table, machines screaming around me. But this place, it wasn't a hospital. It was a black site lab, tucked away from the world. I was trapped. Vulnerable. Altered. Dr. Keller stood over me. A woman I once thought was one of Dad's henchmen. But she was much more than that. She smiled as if she invented me. Your father said you'd be strong, she murmured. But this is extraordinary. I demanded to know where Carl was. She answered coldly. Running. Hiding. And he took the notebook, which means he knows everything. Then Tony. The brother who betrayed me. The coward. The pawn. Tony was useful. But now he's a liability. Rage pumped through my veins so fiercely that the restraints snapped like paper. I threw nurses across the room and forced Dr. Keller to cower behind cabinets, screaming for help. My body wasn't mine anymore, stronger than human, but burning like a live wire about to explode. Alarms. Red lights. Panic. I escaped into the hallway, past rows of other victims. People just like me, broken experiments. 3 guards came first. Too slow. My fists knew exactly where to strike. Bones cracked. Men fell. I didn't stop running. Outside, an ambulance waited. Rachel, Tony's daughter, leapt out, terrified but brave enough to try saving me. Aunt Linda, what did they do to you? We fled into the woods, sirens fading behind us. But Dad's SUV appeared in the rearview, closing in at impossible speed. He was cutting ahead, not chasing me. He was heading straight for Tony, to silence him permanently. No, I growled. Tony dies when I say so. Rachel turned toward Melissa's house, where Tony always hid when the world judged him. The driveway was too quiet. Inside, blood. A struggle. Tony slumped against the bathtub, bleeding out. He still had the nerve to smirk. You think you're the hero? You ain't. You're a lab rat with lipstick. I crouched beside him. You betrayed me for cash. He choked on blood before admitting the truth. Dad had used him too. Manipulated him. And worst of all, Mama tried to stop the experiments. So I killed her. I wanted to tear him apart. But then he whispered. Mama begged me to protect you. I let her down. That hurt more than betrayal itself. He begged me to kill him. No, I said. You're going to live with what you've done. Rachel stormed in with a gun, shaking with rage. He killed Grandma. I blocked her. He already destroyed one daughter. Don't let him destroy another. She lowered the gun, sobbing into my chest. But pain surged, the serum ripping through me, unstable and furious. I collapsed, needing help. Rachel dragged me toward the door. Then the hallway darkened. Dad stood there, smiling like the devil claiming his prize. You were born for this, he whispered. My body betrayed me, forcing me forward. The serum answered him, not me. Blackout. When I woke again, I was locked down harder. Metal restraints. My heart pounding at triple speed, struggling to contain too much power. Dad hovered. You always fight before you scream. Then a revelation hit like an earthquake. Dr. Keller, the cold scientist, broke down and confessed. I'm your mother. My breath disappeared. Mama saved me, I spat. She stole you from me, Keller whispered. I mourned you for 26 years. I saw real pain in her eyes. And in that crack of honesty, a sliver of something human emerged. She slipped a scalpel into my palm and whispered, play dead. Dad returned with guards. Thought I was sedated. And that's when I struck, bones breaking, alarms blaring, blood splattering the sterile floor. I ran again, every heartbeat a countdown to death or evolution. Outside, Carl, gun drawn, badge on his chest, his voice steady. Linda, don't make me shoot you. You already did, I snarled. We fought. Violent, raw, personal. He called me a weapon. I called him a liar. And I left him broken on the ground as I grabbed Mama's notebook from his vest. That book was the truth he stole. Then guards flooded the parking lot. Guns trained on me. Dad strutted out behind them, clapping like he owned the show. Your evolution, he shouted over gunfire. You're the cure. The new future. I'm not yours, I growled. Another dart slammed into my thigh. Tranquilizer. My vision wobbled. Dad smirked. But Dr. Keller, Elise, finally chose a side. My side. She stabbed Dad with an untested serum. His veins turned black, his screams ripping through the night. His arrogance killed him faster than any bullet could. I already did, she told him as he died. Silence fell. Rachel ran to me, wrapped her arms around me like hope finally had a shape. I felt the tranquilizer dragging me down, until Elise injected a stabilizer straight into my heart. Pain exploded, ripping through every cell. Elise held me while I screamed. I've got you. I've got you. The fire faded. Power settled. My heartbeat became my own again. I stood, alive, strong, myself. The empire Dad built collapsed behind us. Sirens wailed, real ones this time. Guards fled. No one chased us. Rachel took my hand. Elise stood at my side. We walked away from death and toward the sunrise cutting through the trees. No destiny. No ownership. No more experiments. My life was mine. Mama taught me love. Elise taught me survival. The world taught me vengeance. I am Linda Hayes. And if anyone comes after the ones I love again, they won't survive long enough to regret it.